Okay, so we move on to Sunday's lesson, and it's entitled Prophecies About Persia and Greece. And I want you to, as you watch this recording, to follow with me in your Bible. So you have to take out your Bibles, you have to take out your lesson study. If you don't have a physical book, you can download it on the Sabbath School app or the website. But it's important to follow especially this lesson. So we're going to read Daniel 11 verse 1 to 4. It says, "And in the first year of Darius the Mede, I took my stand to support and protect him. Now then, I tell you the truth. 3 more kings will arise in Persia, and then a 4th, who will be far richer than all the others. When he has gained power by his wealth, he will stir up everyone against the kingdom of Greece. Then a mighty king will arise, who will rule with great power and do as he pleases." Verse 4, "After he has arisen, his empire will be broken up and parceled out toward the 4 winds of heaven. It will not go to his descendants, nor will the power be exercised, because the empire will be uprooted and given to others." Okay. So, what do we see here that reminds us of some of the previous prophecies we have already seen in the book of Daniel? Now, the first thing is that Gabriel is speaking in chapter 11. He's giving Daniel understanding. And Gabriel tells Daniel that 3 kings will still arise from Persia. And they will be followed by a 4th king, who will be one of the richest of the lot, who will then rise, and this 4th king will be the one that provokes the Greeks. So now you see that we are moving into, from Medo-Persia, we're moving into this Greek kingdom, which was being foretold to us from the book of Daniel 2 and 7 and 8. So we see historically that after Cyrus, 3 successive kings exert dominion over Persia. Cambyses was the first. Then came the false Smerdis, Darius the first, and the 4th king is Xerxes. Okay, and Xerxes also is mentioned again in the book of Esther by a different name, but it's the same Xerxes, called Ahasuerus. And Esther 1 verse 1 to 7, chapter 1 verse 1 to 7, says to us, also confirms that this Xerxes, this king, was very wealthy. And because of his wealth, he used that to marshal vast armies to invade Greece, as predicted in prophecy. But in spite of his power, he was repelled by a smaller force, by valiant Greek soldiers. Okay, so this is where we see the end of the Medo-Persian kingdom, and where the rise of Greece becomes known. And it's not difficult to recognize that Alexander the Great is the person who is the mighty king that is now being spoken of. And he becomes absolute ruler of the ancient world, Alexander the Great. But then at the age of 32, he dies without leaving an heir. And the rule of his empire was then divided by 4 generals. The 4 generals were Seleucus, who reigned over Syria and Macedonia; Ptolemy, who reigned over Egypt; Lysimachus, who reigned over Thrace and portions of Asia Minor; and then we see Cassander, who reigned over Macedonia and Greece. The reign of Seleucus is what we see as being the northern kingdom. The reign of Ptolemy over Egypt is what we see as being the south kingdom in the book of Daniel. Okay. Now, what can we learn from the assortment of names, dates, places? Because they're thrown all over the show, frankly. And if you're not a scholar and you're not good with history, you may get lost. But this is the point. The first is that we learned through prophecy. It is fulfilled and predicted by a divine messenger. God's word never fails. In other words, what we see prophesied happened historically and is still to happen. Then we see the fact that God is the Lord of history. He's the Lord of lords, but He is also the Lord of history, as well as the future. We may get the impression sometimes that succession of political powers, kingdoms, leaders is the ambition of emperors, the collusion of certain people, certain political parties. But the Bible reveals that God is in ultimate control and will move the wheel of history according to His divine purpose, which ultimately will lead, hallelujah, to the eradication of evil as we know it and the establishment of God's eternal kingdom.